So the Green Bay Packers will play for the George Halas Trophy. Very cool. They're going to the NFC Championship game, beat the Rams. And this was a great game for them. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It started off really well. The Rams got back in it, but they were able to hold them off and get the victory really through their offense. I thought their offense was incredible against a good defensive team. And so let's just get into it. And I want to start off talking about that first half and how they got off to the hot start, and then we'll talk about sort of how the Rams got back into it, and then we'll talk about how the Packers put the dagger in the hearts of the Rams and won this game and are going to the NFC Championship. So yeah, let's just get into it. So we'll start off with this play. I love this play. So it's going to be, you see the blocking concept on your screen. It'll be just a toss to Aaron Jones's right. That's how they're going to do this right here. And you see everyone is accounted for, so there's two ways to make sure that he doesn't get the first down on this one if you're a Rams player. Either someone can win their one-on-one matchup, or the safety who's deep could make a really good read on it, and actually both are going to happen. Watch, once this play starts, safety Jordan Fuller makes a really good read on it and is coming in quickly to try and help get into the play since he was the closest unblocked man. So that's just a good read. It's going to be risky because, you don't want to get fooled on play action and have someone get, open down the field, but in this instance, he made the correct read, so you're fine. So that's the first part of it. The second part is that Leonard Floyd, he did a great job at just getting off his block. He was getting blocked by a tight end, does a good job of just sort of getting off the block, not necessarily trying to overpower, just find a way to get some space and get into a position where you can try and make a tackle, which makes sense. But as you see, Jones not only survives this, but somehow gets up and is able to pick up an extra maybe 5 or 6 yards after that. So, the Rams, I felt like this happened a good amount in this game where the Rams had somebody dead to rights, whether it's Aaron Jones, whether it's, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams. They had somebody where they had gained some yards and it looks like they're going to make a tackle, and they just couldn't make that tackle and couldn't keep things underneath, which made things a lot easier for Green Bay. This one was a great one. People were giving Ramsey a hard time for this one. I don't really see how you can do that. It wasn't really his fault. It's interesting, though. Let's talk about what happened. So, first things first, you see Adams and Ramsey in motion to Rodgers' left. But then you're going to see Adams go back in motion to Rodgers' right, which is interesting. And there's a couple things to look at. So Ramsey is behind right here, which is understandable. That's clever, I think. I feel like teams should do that more often. That's kind of a clever idea to just try and get Ramsey out of position as much as possible. And now at this point, notice what's going on in that white box that I've put there. So you have safety, John Johnson, that's 43. He's the guy closest to the line. He's the one who's sort of, you see how he has his hand back right there? He's trying to communicate. He's telling Nick Scott, another safety who, doesn't have a ton of playing time, has 214 snaps heading into this season, but he's telling Nick Scott, hey, you're going to have to cover Davante Adams now. He's back in motion in this direction, and we're going to do a switch here where we're going to have Jalen Ramsey end up covering Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who Scott was supposed to cover, and now Scott covers Adams. This is obviously a huge mismatch. You have Davante Adams getting covered by Nick Scott. That's not going to go too well, but given the positioning, it's a better situation than an out-of-position Jalen Ramsey trying to do it at the goal line. That's almost a recipe. It's for sure a recipe for disaster. This is the concept. It's man coverage, and so that's what they're trying to do right here. John Johnson is blitzing off the edge, and so typically this is what you'd want to do, but with the Adams in motion and having a step on Ramsey, it's just too dangerous to try and get Ramsey to run all the way over. But once Rodgers takes the snap, it looks like Scott just kind of didn't know what to do because he starts off going towards Adams, but then cuts over the middle to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He just to me, this is a clear example of a guy who hasn't had a ton of playing time with this team, and it just made a mental mistake, and you can't make these kind of mistakes against Green Bay, and you especially can't make them against Davante Adams. If he stays out and tries to cover Adams, I don't know if he makes the play, but he has an opportunity to, for sure. He could at least maybe try to disrupt it. There's definitely that opportunity, but he screwed up, and to me, I talked a lot about the Rams right here, but that's great job by the Packers for coming up with this concept, for getting Ramsey out of position and forcing a guy who doesn't have a ton of snaps to have to make a decision, and he made the wrong one. That's just good, smart football, in my opinion. Rodgers makes this throw, and they do get the touchdown. they were able to get some stuff done on defense. It definitely, I think the biggest thing was just how dominant their offense was early on, especially. But their defense definitely had its moments. This was one of the bigger moments where you're going to see a sack here. But what's interesting about it is how the sack actually happened, where you have a player running a jet sweep to Goff's right, and he's going to kind of use that as a play action. So for the Rams, to help sell this play action, they're going to pull their left guard over to their right, which, it's risky because you're basically taking an offensive lineman out of that side of the field, but the advantage is it can help sell to play action. And, Green Bay is a team that has fallen for play action a time or two this season, so there's some logic there. And also worth mentioning, LA has a back in the game, and he can now block because they're using the play action with the jet sweep instead of with a halfback, so he'll still be to Goff's left. He can still try and make a block if needed, if there is a blitz. And that's good news because there is a blitz. This is how it'll work. It's simple. You have Zadarius Smith. He's going to try and get to the inside of the tackle. And then what you do is you have Christian Kirksey run around the edge to the outside of the tackle. The tackle can't block both of them. This typically gives one-on-one matchups, but it's going to be even better in this scenario since the left guard is pulling. Now, Zadarius Smith is either going to get a straight shot, or maybe the left tackle is going to block Zadarius Smith, but now you have Christian Kirksey running around the edge, and the back is the only guy who can block him. Neither one of those instances are ideal, but in fact, it's going to be even worse than that. Watch. So you see that Zadarius Smith runs to the inside, and, left tackle here, Andrew Whitworth, he's saying, I'm going to try and take away the blitzer, Christian Kirksey right here, which, teams do it differently. As long as you're all on the same page, it's fine. He can choose who he wants to take away. The issue is that they're just not on the same page right here. Cam Akers is also going to block Christian Kirksey, and that's the kind of thing where either decision you make is fine, but both guys have to know what decision it is, and they're just not on the same page. But also watch this speed from Smith to get that immediate sack too. That's taking advantage of your opponent's mistakes if I've ever seen it. And that's what football is. I always say this because it's true. Sometimes you'll see me break down a play and I criticize the team that had something go wrong a lot, like on this play where I'm criticizing the Rams a good amount. But at the same time, part of football is when your opponent makes a mistake, you capitalize, and you don't just turn it into an incompletion, you turn it into a sack or even a turnover. And that's what Green Bay did on a lot of these plays on offense and defense, was just capitalize on their opponent's mistakes and sort of trick their opponents into making mistakes. Like this one's a great example of that in my opinion, where it kind of feels like a mistake, but at the same time, it's hard to really say this was too much of a mistake because it was really just a good play by Green Bay, I think. So this is going to be a buzz concept right here that the Los Angeles Rams are in. It's man coverage, and they have a couple players playing coverage on either side of the field. For Green Bay, they're going to run a play action, which a 3rd and goal, at the 2-yard line or at the 1-yard line, actually, that can really help open things up. Rodgers will scramble out to his right. He has a couple of options. Lazard is going to fake as though he's blocking, but then try and get open. You're also just going to have a tight end just actually block, but then run a route and try and get open. And so those are Rodgers' first 2 options. His 3rd option is to run with the football. But watch, right when this ball is snapped, he fakes the play action, and then you look and see, and this is such a conundrum for the Rams. What do you do right here? Leonard Floyd is the one who's in the black circle, and Rodgers could throw it to Mercedes Lewis. He was the tight end here. There is that opening. So if Floyd just sort of lets him do that, well, then it's a touchdown. So Floyd pretty much has no choice but to leap up and try to just take that away right now because there's not really the help back there just yet. But the issue with that is if he does that, well, then what can actually happen can happen. Watch, Rodgers fakes him out, and he's going to get to the corner, get into the end zone. Not exactly as graceful as when he was, 27 and doing it, but hey, he's still doing it, still getting into the end zone, and that's more, I think, high IQ play than it is great physical play, but it's still a good physical play. It really is, so yeah. But then the LA Rams started coming back. They made it a 1-score game. This is how they did it. I gotta talk about a hook and ladder play. I'm a big fan of the hook and ladder. I think it's a very fun play. And what really makes it work so well is how underutilized it is in a way. So here's how it works. If you never heard of the hook and ladder, it's just a receiver. It sort of starts off like a screen pass. A receiver takes the quick pass, but then he's going to lateral it back to the halfback, who's going to run around and get into the end zone that way. I think one of the reasons why this makes sense to do is the fact that it's a 2-point conversion attempt. So worst case scenario would be if they return it all the way for a touchdown, which would be 2 points. But the chances of that happening are so small that probably it's either going to be, a good 2-point or a bad 2-point. So, if this was a first down and goal and you did this, there'd be a fumble scenario with the lateral, which you just probably wouldn't want to risk. But anyways, Goff takes the snap, and you see there's kind of pressure from Christian Kirksey in his face right when this play starts. And in a weird sort of way, I think that kind of helped the Rams run this play, which it sounds weird, but the reason why I say that is because you see how this throws kind of a little bit to the inside. It's supposed to be here because you want the hook and ladder to work, but because of that kind of pressure, it sort of felt as though this play kind of broke down instead of this play was designed this way the whole time. And I've circled 2 Green Bay players into one circle. If either one of them realized this was a hook and ladder, they easily would have had time to get to the edge and not allow Cam Akers to get a touchdown on this play, barring a broken tackle, which is possible, but probably they would have been fine. The issue is just, like I said, these types of plays don't happen too often. It's not something you expect, and it sort of just feels as though it was a wide receiver screen that kind of got broken a little bit. And this is also why playoff football is just a different animal, because sometimes teams save their best plays for the playoffs in a way that you won't see in the regular season. So that's why guys can get even more fooled in the postseason than in the regular season. It's a pitch back to Akers, who runs it in. Again, just a clever concept. I love stuff like that. Good play call. Good play call and good execution by the LA Rams, and that put them within 7. I actually think this play was the turning point because of the fumble, but it just goes right back to Rodgers, who even picks it up and gains a yard there. That would have been huge. If the Rams recovered, they would have been already in field goal range and, plenty of time left. That it's just a different game if LA recovers. That kind of felt like the break that LA needed. They weren't able to get it, but they still would have an opportunity to stop the Packers on the next play on a 3rd down and 3. So here's what would happen, and this is another turning point type play in this game. It's a 7-point game. And what the Packers are doing is they're just going to have a wide receiver screen to Marquez Valdes-Scantling, which I like because notice how Ramsey is lined up against Adams, but he's giving Adams a bit of space, which you have to do against Adams. He's so good in that first step. You kind of have to give him space. I guess you don't have to, but it makes sense to do that. And this now means that the LA player who I've circled all the way back there, John Johnson, he's the guy who's going to have to try and come in and make this play. So there's a lot of ground he has to cover. However, he is pretty good. And watch, he is going to cover this ground. He's able to get pretty close to Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And obviously, as you guys know, Valdes-Scantling's going to be able to get past the first down marker. But a lot of people are kind of talking about how he powered through the tackle. But there's something that allowed him to do that. There wasn't a ton of contact, and the reason is because watch what he's going to do here. See this little move, just that little juke right there, that just fooled Johnson enough that he was able to get to the first down marker, and diving helps. Typically I think it's a good idea to not, as a rule, to not try to stretch the ball out. This is obviously the exception. Get the first down there. That's worth the risk. He was able to get the first down. And also, how about the block by Davante Adams too? Just getting enough. Just good gritty work by the Packers receivers. So then let's finally talk about this one. This one was the dagger. It's going to be a play action, and to have Lazard running a deep route over the middle against a cover 3 zone. So cover 3 means only a single safety deep. That's how this works. Remember that first play I talked about when you saw the safety Fuller? He really made a good read to run in early and stop a run. Well, sometimes you got to be aggressive, and he's going to try and be aggressive, try to get his team off the field and give his offense the ball back with, only down 7. That's the ideal situation. So when Rodgers takes the snap, it's a little play action, and Fuller got completely out of position. So now at this point, you see Allen Lazard is just completely wide open. That's kind of the, hey, you live by the aggressive play, you die by the aggressive play. And sometimes you got to play aggressive to win a game like this, but it just didn't work out. And also, what a job by the Packers to just be so patient all game long. Not force anything deep, keep taking stuff over the middle, and then finally, with under 7 minutes left in the game, they finally take that deep shot to Lazard, and it really pays off. Lazard makes the grab, they keep on running, and they're going to go to the NFC Championship game. Pretty cool. Great win by them, absolutely. The Packers, I think there's no doubt about it. They're the team to beat in the NFC. They might be the team to beat in the NFL. They're really good. Maybe a bit of concerns of sort of their soft zone defense. Definitely the Rams were able to pick it apart, whether they play Drew Brees or Tom Brady. I have a feeling either one of those guys should pick it apart as well. So little things to worry about, but their defense still made plays, and their offense is just ridiculously good. So, yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.